Windows Server 2012 has a great improvement for file services called data deduplication. And essentially what that does is that will take any blocks that are repeated on the file system and essentially only store one copy of those blocks on the file system. So it deduplicates duplicated data on one of the specified volumes. So I will show you today how to configure that and give you an example of some of the space that's saved. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to add a role. I've already installed it here, but I'll show you where it is. So you'd go next, 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 and it's under File and Storage Services, and then you enable or expand. I'm sorry, File and iSCSI Services, and you need to check this box for data deduplication. And by checking that, it'll also check the box for this file server feature. And so those are the only two that you need. And after that installs, what you do is you first have to have a separate volume, so you can't do this on the C drive if that's your boot volume. You cannot deduplicate on the system volume. So we have a separate E drive that I named data, and it has some ISOs on it just for just some quick sample data. So we'll go over to Server Manager, File and Storage Services, Volumes, and this will load up and show we have our C, our System Reserved, and our E. And you can see we have 11.7 gigabytes free. So after you install that data deduplication feature that I showed you earlier, this configure data deduplication option will show up in this menu here. So we'll do configure data deduplication. We want to click enable. You'll probably want to leave this at 5 days, or at least set it to 1 or 2 days. That way CPU cycles and disk I/O aren't wasted deduplicating something that's only going to exist for a short time. So I would recommend probably leaving this at 5 days, but in my case, for example, I'll set it to 0 days, otherwise I wouldn't be able to show you anything. Here you can configure file extensions to exclude, or you can exclude entire folders if for whatever reason you have an application vendor that doesn't support this, or just for any reason at all, if you want to exclude certain files. Generally on a file server though, if it's just static content, you can include everything on the volume and it's not a huge deal in most cases. You do want to set a data deduplication schedule. So enable background optimization will, when the system's not too busy, it will optimize in the background. You can also enable optimization during specific times. And so you generally want to pick something that is not going to impact your business. So 6 hours at 1:45 a.m. would put it to like 7:45. In this case, I want it to stop at 5:45. You'll probably also want to schedule backups around this, because this does cause a lot of CPU and disk I/O if there are a lot of files to dedupe. So you may want to even have your backups run. If this starts at 1:45, you may want to make it so your backup window on this server will end at midnight or 12:30, something like that, so that these jobs don't overlap. You can also create a second schedule if you want. So if you want this to dedupe at 1 a.m. and also at 6 p.m. right when business closes, you can do that as well. So we'll apply this, and we will apply this. Alright, and now you'll notice we're still at 11.7 gigabytes here. That's because we would normally have to wait for that 1:45 a.m. time to run for the deduplication job. But if we do start dedupe job, volume E, type optimization, this will begin the deduplication job immediately. You can see the schedule type is manual. If you had seen this at 1:45 a.m., it would say scheduled. So we'll do get dedupe job, and we can kind of keep track of how this is going. Okay, so our deduplication job has finished. You can tell by if you do get dedupe job, it won't return any current jobs. So It's safe to say that our job is finished. We'll go back to Server Manager, and I've already refreshed this, but you would have to hit Refresh Volumes up here. And you can see we had 11.7 gigs free before, and now we have 14.6, so we have a 37% deduplication rate on these handful of ISOs. And we've saved 3.13 gigabytes just by turning this on. So our 20 gig volume has 14 gigs free instead of 11 gigs free. And that's only with these, 5 or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ISOs on it. So, when you're talking about a real production file server with a lot of production data, possibly in the terabytes, the potential savings for data deduplication is absolutely enormous. So, it's definitely one of the big selling points of Windows Server 2012. Combined with DFS and deduplication, it's a great platform for file services.